Now, for months, Russia said that its main objective was to capture the Ukrainian territory of Donbass. On Wednesday, Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov said that Russia's military focus in Ukraine was no longer only the east of the country. In an interview with Russian state media, he implied Moscow's strategy had changed now after the West supplied Ukraine with longer-range weapons. Lavrov said that Russia would now have to push Ukrainian forces further from the front line to ensure its own security.
Когда в Стамбуле была встреча переговорщиков, там была одна география. И наша готовность принять украинское предложение опиралась на ту географию, на географию конца марта 2022 года. Сейчас...
То есть ДНР, ЛНР?
Ну, так, если...
Более-менее.
Более-менее. Сейчас география другая. Это далеко не только ДНР, ЛНР. Это еще и Херсонская область, Запорожская область и ряд других территорий. И этот процесс продолжается. Причем продолжается последовательно и настойчиво.
Now, this map shows you the current state of the war. Russia has occupied parts of the east and south of the country, but it failed in its original aim of capturing Kiev, and has since claimed its main objective was the liberation of Donbass. Now, the apparent expansion of Russia's objectives was not a surprise to the United States. However, on Tuesday, U.S. National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby did say that Russia was making plans to annex large swathes of Ukrainian territory. The United States accused Moscow of using a similar playbook to its takeover of Crimea. U.S. State Department spokesperson said that the annexation would be a violation of the UN Charter.
These comments to us only further demonstrate that Russia is moving toward the annexation that we've warned about. And they serve as a reminder of the ultimate purpose and objective of Russia's illegal, unjustified war against Ukraine. Despite what we heard in the run-up to this war is nothing more than a war of territorial conquest.
Meanwhile, according to Russian media, officials in the Russian-occupied cities in southeastern Ukraine, they've started handing out Russian passports to local residents as well. Some 25 residents living in Eneroda have already received passports. This after Russian President Vladimir Putin signed a decree in July giving all citizens of Ukraine a simplified way to obtain Russian citizenship. The region's Russian-installed authorities have floated the idea of holding a referendum on joining Russia, a move that Ukraine has called illegal. Now, while Russia controls the majority of Zaporizhzhia region along Ukraine's southern coast, Ukraine's military, it still controls the northern part, including the city itself, which is the largest urban center and home to more than half of the region's pre-war population. And for more on this, our correspondent Rosie Bircher is joining us from Brussels now. Rosie, thank you for joining us. What has the West's response been to Russia's expansion aims now?
Well, I think, as you previously mentioned, there's no surprise really here in Brussels, where NATO is headquartered. NATO nations have always been suspicious and doubtful when it comes to what Russia says are its aims in this conflict. Now, Western nations and NATO countries have been for some weeks now focusing on upping Ukraine's army's capacities, particularly a focus there on trying to transition Ukrainian forces away from Soviet-era weaponry toward more modern-era arms. That's what Ukraine has been calling for. Kiev has been asking for more heavy weapons from Western nations. They have coughed up, they have supplied more heavy weapons, and for example, including multiple launch rocket systems. Ukraine says it still needs more, and of course, Russia is now, it says, reacting directly to that. And Moscow has in the past accused Western nations that are part of the NATO military alliance of fighting a proxy war by arming Ukraine. But those NATO members say they're doing precisely the opposite, that they are sending arms to Kiev because they will not themselves get involved in this war for fear of escalating the conflict into an even bigger war where Russia and NATO allies face each other down directly. There are no NATO boots on the ground in Ukraine and no NATO planes in Ukrainian skies.
Right, absolutely. Their stance has been very clear all throughout, but we also know that Russian energy plays a vital role here. What can you tell us of its implications?
Absolutely. Well, we just heard from Trent a bit of what is going on in Germany. Now, the European Central Bank today is about to raise interest rates for the first time in more than 10 years. Well, that is simply driven in many ways by skyrocketing energy prices here in Europe amid that big uncertainty about the future of the continent's energy supply. Now, the European Commission, that's headquartered in this building behind me, has been going out scrambling to find new suppliers because historically the European Union as a whole has been reliant on Russia for its energy supplies. The EU has signed or is seeking to sign new deals with countries including Israel, Egypt, Azerbaijan, Norway, the United States. But it hasn't proved enough. That's why they're now scrambling to try and ask their nations, ask EU members to reduce consumption overall, to try and cut demand. They say that will weaken Russia's hand because they accuse Moscow of weaponizing energy, of trying to blackmail European Union countries. They say try and convince them essentially to ease sanctions imposed over the war in Ukraine. Let's not forget, though, of course, that Moscow's Russian energy giant Gazprom says that these delays, these disruptions to supplies are down to contractual issues and practical issues, though, of course, suspicion here in Brussels is that it's very much a politically motivated move.
All right. Rosie, thank you for bringing us all the updates on this. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.